So I don't know if you remember about when the Democratic Party accused the Russians of hacking the DNC servers and getting Hillary's emails that revealed that they were cheating Bernie Sanders during the election. They cheated in the primary, which is why Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who was the DNC chair at the time, had to step down because those emails revealed that the Democrats were corrupt and cheating, and they were.
And also, didn't that guy tell us that Fair Vote DeSantis was protecting her in Florida with that voting?
Yeah. Let's not confuse stories. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz had to step down after that. So that's how you know it's real. Also, Elizabeth Warren said the primary was rigged on television. Mm-hmm. Also, Donna Brazile said the same fucking thing. She was then the next chair of the DNC.
Didn't she write a book about it?
Yes. So this whole thing, she said she found the contract that showed that they had an illegal or an unethical setup with Hillary Clinton and the DNC, and that Hillary Clinton would basically be running the DNC during the primary, which is highly unethical. So they... there was a theory that this guy Seth Rich, who worked for the DNC, leaked those emails. That was the speculation. Now, you weren't allowed to speculate that. You were immediately called conspiracy theorist and a crazy, even though nobody knows who killed him. It's not solved, and nobody knows where those emails came from because they didn't come from Russia. That's a fact. Although they say it came from Russia, those emails, they didn't. Bill Binney, who was the top NSA codebreaker for decades, on this show proved that those emails did not come from Russia, did not hack those emails. That was done locally. They were downloaded onto a thumb drive. So that wasn't done by Russia, hacking. And so a lot of people speculated that it was Seth Rich. That was the speculation going around. Now, again, I'm covering this story. People will now take this video and say, Jimmy Dore is saying that it was Seth Rich. No, I'm saying that was the speculation.
Great. You're going to cause a wave of hammer attacks.
I know. and so they wanted to get the computer, Seth Rich's computer, to find out, well, what's the deal? Because it's very suspicious he got killed. Nobody knows. They still haven't solved that murder. And now so there was a Freedom of Information request to get that. What did the FBI find on his computer? There was a Freedom of Information request. And because of that they have to release the stuff that's on his computer. The FBI is asking the court that's ordering them to release it. They're asking them, I don't want to release it for 66 years. So the FBI doesn't want to release the information they got on Seth Rich's computer. Seth Rich, who has nothing to do with the DNC email leaks, according to them. But they just, for no reason, they just don't want to release that stuff for 66 years.
Why? Now, remember, Jimmy, when... go
ahead.
You remember that murder of Chandra Levy, and it was that senator? And I remember at the time, it was like a lot of suspicion because it was his mistress.
Right.
And all that. Later, it turned out it was a random killing.
It was random. He didn't do it.
But we found out in less than 66 years. I do remember that part of it. Found out like in the next year or so.
Well, who knew Seth Rich had the Pfizer vaccine trial data on his computer?
I was going to say that. Yeah. This is exactly like the Pfizer situation where they wanted 75 years and finally a judge got them to say, you're going to have to release the information right away. I hope same thing happens here.
And why did people,
here it is.
Why did people do that? Why did people speculate that Seth Rich was involved with the leaks of those emails? Why did they?
They hate women and they want a woman president.
Because this.
Whistleblowers go to significant efforts to get us material and often very significant risks. As a 27-year-old works for the DNC, who was shot in the back, murdered just 2 weeks ago for unknown reasons as he was walking down the street in Washington. So
that was just a robbery, I believe, wasn't it?
No, there's no finding. So
what are you suggesting? What are you suggesting?
I'm suggesting that our sources take risks, and they become concerned to see things occurring like that.
But was he one of your sources then? I mean,
we don't comment on who our sources are.
But why make the suggestion about a young guy being shot in the streets of Washington?
because we have to understand how high the stakes are in the United States, and that our sources are, our sources face serious risks. That's why they come to us, so we can protect their anonymity.
But it's quite something to suggest a murder. That's basically what you're doing.
Well, that others have suggested that. We are investigating to understand what happened in that situation with Seth Rich. I think it is a concerning situation. There's not a conclusion yet. We wouldn't be willing to state a conclusion, but we are concerned about it. And more importantly, a variety of WikiLeaks sources are concerned when that kind of thing happens.
So you can see why people would speculate because of what he just said. That news reporter was certainly...
First of all, it is, no matter what, it is a murder. He got shot in the back.
And killed.
He didn't say who did the murder.
And they didn't steal anything.
You're saying it's a murder and not just a robbery, you're still alive.
But they didn't...
and also they take the stuff.
And they didn't take anything. They didn't take his watch.
Nothing.
They didn't take his wallet. He was assassinated. That's what it looks like. And nobody still knows to this day who did it. But you're not allowed to ask questions about it. And believe me, we're not. We're just covering it. But you know, Craig, that just by covering it, people will say that you're somehow pushed, because that's how much they don't want this talked about. So they want to make you afraid to even cover it, because that's all we did at the show was cover the story one time, one video. How is that pushing a conspiracy theory? That's me covering. I covered a press conference that the investigator hired by the Seth Rich family gave a press conference about what he found. And we covered his press conference. And because of that, the Democratic Party had their pieces of shit in the media slime us because they want to discredit us because we're critical of the establishment in the Democratic Party. And the way to do that is to try to get you called a conspiracy theorist. And it didn't work. We're still here. We got 800,000 more subscribers than we did when they did that to us. And we have a much bigger platform and many more people know about us. It didn't work.
I didn't think anything about the Seth Rich thing until it became like that, like you're not allowed to mention it. And then this...
But you're allowed to do a Russiagate conspiracy theory at the top of your lungs for 5 straight fucking years. Yeah. And nobody will ever call you a conspiracy theory if you say that Russia hacked our election. You can say that all day long, but you can't say about any other election. You can't say it about any other election. That's bad. Just that one.
We don't have electronic elections, by the way, but they hacked it.
So now the FBI is asking a U.S. court to reverse its order that it produces information from Seth Rich's laptop computer. And the court does not. The Bureau wants 66 years. That's not suspicious at all. And you are a crazy conspiracy theorist if you think there's something wrong with that.
It's like the Warren Commission, right? They just want to bury shit for so long. And like not even,
Seth Rich was a Democratic National Committee staffer when he was killed on the street in Washington in mid-2016. No person has ever been arrested in the connection to the murder. U.S. District Judge Amos Mazant, an Obama appointee, ruled in September that the Bureau must hand over information from the computer to Brian Huddleston, a Texas man who filed a Freedom of Information Act request for the info. That's an Obama appointee judge said you gotta turn over the Seth Rich computer. Is he also a conspiracy theorist, the judge? Is Judge Amos Mazant, is he a conspiracy theorist? Because he's talking about Seth Rich, and he's ordering them to release Seth Rich's computer stuff. Is he a crazy conspiracy theorist, the judge? Or just me for saying that the judge said it? Okay. The FBI's assertion that the privacy interest Rich's family members hold outweighed. So they've been doing this. In no other case have they ever cared about the victim's feelings.
The privacy? That's what they care about, privacy.
The FBI cares about the privacy
of the victim.
But I can watch JFK's head get blown off every day of my life for the last 50 years. But you don't care about his family, right? But you do care about... They don't give a fuck. They don't want you talking about this. That's what this is. So the FBI's assertion that the privacy interest Rich's family members hold outweighed the public interest was rejected by the Obama-appointed judge, who noted the Bureau cited no relevant case law supporting the argument, because there isn't. That's never happened before, where you said we have to suppress a murder investigation because their family might get hurt by the information. How are their family going to get hurt by an investigation about who killed their kid? I think they'd want to fucking know who killed their kid. That's all bullshit. Just like that article in the Washington Post about this that put me in, that was all bullshit. This is all bullshit. Just like they said Bernie was working for the Russians, Trump is working for the Russians, Tulsi's working for the Russians, Glenn Greenwald's working for the Russians, Matt Taibbi, Jimmy Dore, everybody. That's all this is. That's what this is. This is all made up. So they said that you can't release the information about this investigation because it'll hurt the dead guy's family's feelings. And the judge said that's never fucking happened in the history of the country before. That's never. You can't cite one case law that's happened.
Well, I hope Dave Weigel can get to the bottom of this.
I hope so. But the ruling was erroneous, U.S. lawyers said in a new filing. The Bureau shouldn't have to produce the information because of FOIA exemptions for information that are compiled for law enforcement purposes and could reasonably be expected to disclose the identity of a confidential source, the lawyers said in a motion for reconsideration. Another exemption, which enables agencies to withhold information that would disclose law enforcement techniques, also applies, they said. So this is the lawyers for the government saying all these reasons why we don't get to know the information that the government knows.
Disclose law enforcement techniques. You haven't solved the crime.
Yeah, you have what law enforcement?
What amazing technique are you? Your proprietary techniques.
The techniques they use to not solve the murder case. You mean you don't want to disclose the techniques you use to not solve this case? Given the court's findings that except for the information related to Seth Rich's laptop withheld pursuant to Exemption 6 and 7C based on privacy interests, the FBI properly withheld or redacted all other information in response to Hedelson's request, the production order seems inconsistent with the rest of that order, the motion stated. The FBI, after claiming, get this, after they claimed they never even had the laptop, the FBI said, we don't even have it. And they didn't have any information from the laptop. It now acknowledged in 2020 that it had thousands of files from Seth Rich's computer. So they lied and lied and lied and lied, and then they said, yeah.
Is that their technique that they
guess
can't reveal?
that's
It's just lying?
They don't want to reveal the investigative technique of lying.
The oldest magic of all.
The Bureau is currently working on getting the files from Seth Rich's. They're working on it.
Yeah.
They're working on getting the files of Seth Rich's personal laptop into a format to be reviewed. How do you do it? What format? I don't know what kind. We gotta take a class in formatting. Information and material extracted from the computer were provided by a source to an FBI agent during a meeting on March 15, 2018. FBI record officer Michael Siddell said in a declaration. He said the files included photographs and documents, among other material. In the new filing, government lawyers said the FBI never extracted the data, which it revealed as originating with a law enforcement agency. They said the information is on a compact disc containing images of the laptop. So they're not even in possession of that laptop. According to the FBI, we just have this we have images. We don't have the actual data. We don't actually hack the actual computer. We just have these images that I don't even know where we got them from.
Put them out. Let's see what they are. Take a peek at them.
Yeah. But that would hurt someone's feelings. The FBI did not open an investigation into the murder of Seth Rich, nor did it provide investigative or technical assistance to any investigation into the murder of Seth Rich. This is what they're saying. As a result, the FBI has never extracted the data from the compact disc and never processed the information contained on the disc, they said.
Why are you hiding it then?
Then why would you hide it?
How do you even fit into this picture at all on any level to ask to see it if you're not in charge of the investigation?
Right. Why does the FBI have to ask for 66 years if you don't even have it? And you never process the information and blah, 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 blah. You fucking liars. They're such lie. They just lie right out in the open. because there'll never be a price to pay because they're bought media. The corporate media in America is in bed with the government because the corporation that owns the media also owns the politicians. And so they all have the same narrative. Do you understand? Okay. To produce the information, the FBI would have to convert information on the disk into pages and then review the pages to redact information per FOIA, according to the government. You mean that? Oh, they act like this is the first time that's ever. How do you? What do we got to do? How does this work? I don't know. We got to sit down and have somebody come in and teach us. If Mazat upholds his order, the FBI wants a lengthy period of time to perform the work, 66 years or 500 pages a month, just like Pfizer. At that rate, it'll take almost 67 years to produce the documents, never mind the images and other files. After dealing with the FBI for 5 years, I now assume that the FBI is lying to me unless and until it proves otherwise. The FBI is desperately trying to hide records about Seth Rich, and that begs the question of why? That's what my question when I was at the Young Turks, I asked my friend Ben Mankiewicz on camera, hey, when was the last time you heard of a murder investigation you weren't allowed to talk about or ask questions about? An unsolved murder investigation. And you know what their response was? They didn't have a response because there isn't one.
They didn't even say a sound at you?
Just nothing. Mm-hmm. WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has suggested Rich leaked Democratic National Committee files to WikiLeaks. But special counsel Robert Mueller said the real source was Russian hackers. And that's a lie. And we debunked that on our show. So we don't spread conspiracies at the Jimmy Dore Show. We debunk conspiracies at the Jimmy Dore Show. And that was one we fully and thoroughly debunked. We are conspiracy analysts at this show. Still, Mueller's finding conflicts with the statements from CrowdStrike, the firm hired to investigate how DNC files were released. So CrowdStrike, they're the ones who did all the investigating of the FBI didn't even look at the DNC server. Did you know that? They got a picture of the server from CrowdStrike, and CrowdStrike was working for Hillary Clinton. So you can't trust their liars. They got caught lying. They knew anyway. So it's completely normal that the FBI wants 66 years to release the information on Seth Rich they swore they didn't have in the first place.
Yeah, that's my question. Why are you...
Here's the latest from the FBI about Seth Rich's laptop. This is from Ty Clevenger. He's a lawyer, and he's a lawyer for LawFlog. He says, here's the latest from the FBI about Seth Rich's laptop, and it raises a lot of questions. For one thing, the FBI claims it only has an image of the laptop rather than the laptop itself. But look at part 2 of the earlier document from January 14th, 2021. The FBI acknowledges that they have located a 302, that's an interview form, stating that Seth Rich's personal laptop was given to the FBI, but thus far have located no report of it being analyzed by the FBI. Which is it? So let me bring in Craig Pasta. Craig, at the risk of you being also smeared as a conspiracy theorist for actually just covering a news story of an unsolved murder, what are your comments on this?
Well, I can't help to think about what you were talking about a little bit earlier in the story, the way, anybody who talked about it, how they got smeared. This was a complete operation because, I think you can remember back in 2016 where you were kind of very much liked by a lot of the Democrats.
Oh, yeah.
Bernie and whatnot. But as things started getting hairy, this was one of the first situations I remember is that when you did try to speak about Seth Rich, even like lower little kind of minion level Democratic establishment people, or just members that we knew, activists in the streets, social justice warriors, would smear you if you talked about this, would hit you hard.
Just talk about it.
You can't even talk about it.
They made everybody afraid to even talk about this topic.
Yes. So even though you're here, even though you have all those followers, and even though you can still talk about it, it was still very effective in suppressing that information when it came out. People were afraid to talk about it. Yes. I think it's a different story today. We're a little bit more open and we don't give a damn anymore because we understand what the Democratic Party is. But when this stuff came out, they were very effective in smearing people silent.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that the hill you want to die on?
And they got the Washington Post that did it. They got everybody did it. Everybody smeared anybody who talked about this. And this pretend thing that they care about Seth Rich's family. that is. Did the FBI consider the feelings of Dr. Martin Luther King's family when they tried blackmailing him into committing suicide? Because the FBI cares about people's families.
I know, isn't that amazing?
They tried to blackmail Martin Luther King into killing himself, but they care about Seth Rich's family. They care about him.
They're putting Martin Luther King on FBI posters now.
Yes. Yeah. So that's what they do. Is that so? There's a reason why they don't want to release that. I wonder what the reason is. There's a reason why you weren't allowed to even ask questions about an open murder investigation. First time in history, you weren't allowed to ask questions about the murder investigation that wasn't solved, still isn't solved.
You know what I want to know, Jimmy? Why is this being held back for 66 years when I feel Hillary Clinton's show Gutsy should have instead been? We should have waited 66 years to drop that.
See, in Denver, Palm Springs, Austin, Texas, and Burbank, California after Thanksgiving. Plus, we're going to be doing a lot of shows in December in Studio City. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com for a link for all the tickets.